Welcome everybody to Unsheathed Sword Reviews. I'm John.
I'm Vic.
And I'm Kane.
And once again, we have special guest Kane Shen with us here today. And we are here to do a first impression and sort of just conversation about some swords from this guy you may have heard of, friend of the show, G Trizzle, a.k.a. Angus Trim. And Kane, why don't you tell us a little bit about this sword and the process of how you picked it?
I just had a very productive weekend with these two, and we're going to have so much fun with this sword that I just picked up from Angus Trim himself, from his secret back cave.
We went to the back cave.
Right, and aka the Disneyland for adults.
For sword nerds, for sure.
Yeah, basically his workshop for him to produce all these awesome performance-oriented swords. So this is XIIIb.3, and if you don't know Angus Trim's typology, he follows your Oakshott's typology, and his models are basically revision number of each subtype. And he has over a dozen, sometimes dozens of different models, like variations, even for each subtype. Very prolific designer and maker. So we just picked this up, and I think it would be a fantastic idea for you, sir, because you already own this piece. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this one?
So I am fortunate enough to own an Angus Trim 13B. I specifically have the 13B.10. And this is a really good time to showcase the fact that how different, yet very similar, some of the different models that Mr. Trim makes. So we'll talk about aesthetics and all that a little bit later. But as you can see, the .3 has a longer blade, and they do handle quite a bit differently. And we'll get into that here in a second. But I also want to say, this is freaking gorgeous. I mean, I have yet to see an Angus Trim sword that I don't like. But this looks good, just feels good. Like the fit and finish is very much Angus Trim.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Spot
Like
from across the room.
you don't even there's no hesitation as to what that is.
Yep. Yeah, and to me, form follows function, and this is the great example of that. Just the way he puts his swords together, and to me, you just look at this sword, and this is just like a sword. This is what a sword looks like. You know, if you were to have a generic fantasy cover with the main warrior guy carrying an army sword, it would look like this. And I love it. I think it's a great looking sword. I'm just super stoked to be able to go down with Kane and pick it up and get to see Angus Trim again and cut some tatami down there, which was fantastic. Cut some video of that in later. Yeah, it was just a great experience and a great sword.
Definitely a great sword.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of handling, they are very, very different. The slightly longer blade length, you could feel it like initially when picking it up. You could feel that there's more blade presence, which makes total sense. Aesthetically, though, they both rock double fullers, but they go about it quite differently. The .10 has them further out, they're spread apart, and they're actually blackened. This one has much thinner looking fullers. The cross sections are a little bit different. Kane could touch on that here in a second. I actually like the 13B.10 a lot because it is so agile for its size. This I do like quite a bit, but it has a little bit more blade presence to it. But I think they're both tremendous swords, and it's really just about what feels better to you. Right. What do you think, Kane?
Exactly. And I think these two, when you hold them side by side, just typifies Angus Trim's practice of designing swords. So he optimized them for performance, handling, cutting capacity, etc. But also he doesn't just base them on museum originals, like one-to-one replicas, but he worked with practitioners. We were there yesterday and had the opportunity to talk with some, HEMA practitioners, competition cutting, gold medalists. So he has a chance to fine-tune each of his pieces with intention, strong intention of the purposes. And when you first look at Atrim swords, they look a little bit plain, okay? But when you get a chance to handle them personally, in person, they have so much nuances. Like small details like the cross-section, like Vic mentioned earlier, the cross-section of this one is in the lower half, is hexagonal. On the upper portion, it transitions into a lenticular cross-section, which is very typical, very stereotypical for early medieval swords. So it blends two different, cross-sections perfectly. And if you look at this one, it's more of a hexagonal cross-section throughout. This one tip is a more, the usual arc,
Right.
transition to the tip, whereas this one has
Very
like a
abrupt.
transition, abrupt
Mhm.
transition to a more triangular tip.
Mhm.
And I told Gus when I commissioned this sword that I want something very iconic to the subtype 13B, because I'm gonna do an Oakeshott collection featuring of the evolution of medieval arming sword
Ooh, that'll
later
be a
this
good-
year.
That'll be a fun video.
And this one was sent in for 13B.
Right.
Nice.
Right, so it has a 30-inch long blade,
Mhm.
which is like medium length, not too short, and it has this very, just iconic, feature on the blade. And you know what? When you first pick it up, it's exactly how I envisioned 13B.
Yeah.
Like a big razor, given how wide it is, even
Right.
on the upper portion. Most of swords, even though like Type 10, Type 10A, they still have some tapering. So on the upper portion, they are not that, they are narrowed down a little bit.
Mhm.
This one remains broad, but just like this one as
Mhm.
well. And
I think you hit the nail on the head on one thing though. When I picked up the 13B.10 for the first time, because I didn't commission this one, it just happened to be in the shop one day when we were there. John picked it up and was like, "You're gonna like this," and then I picked it up and it was immediately my sword. But from everything I'd read about 13B typology, is they do have a little bit of presence out there. They do feel a little forward heavy, which is on purpose. Except this one doesn't really feel like that at all. This is so crazy agile and lively. That one though feels exactly like what I thought a 13B would feel like. And like it's a compliment to each one because they're clearly going for slightly different things. But yeah, that to me is more prototypical, I would say, right?
right, but yeah, each of these pieces are like a story of their own.
Yeah.
Right. And you pick them up, they all feel different, but all of them feel phenomenal.
Well, and that's the thing. So like John and I were talking when we were at the shop because, Gus was always gracious enough to have a bunch of swords out there for us to play with. I think you were saying, John, that like you pick up one of his swords and that's the best feeling Angus Trim sword you've ever had.
Right, and then you pick up the next one, and it's the same thing.
Yeah, like continuously. They're always like absolutely fantastic. So if you can ever try to get a hold of one, I implore you to do so.
Yeah, I love how he can take a typology like this. Like you look at these two swords, and like you can tell they're related, but they're not necessarily that similar. I like that he just explores the entire range of a typology. And, because two different swords in the same typology can be very different.
Right.
And I enjoy that. I really, really like that about his work. Like our two falchions, for example.
Yeah.
They're both F4Cs, right?
Right, but they're very different.
But they're very, very different falchions. So I really like that he does that. And the one thing you can count on, like you said, is they're always just going to perform unbelievably well. And the thing I like about them maybe the most is the ring they make when you cut
Oh
them
my
from.
god. Yeah.
They all have it, and they all just sing
Yeah.
out like a bell when you make a good cut. Yeah.
Being that extremely well heat treated, very evenly done,
Mhm.
and the hill assembly is extremely tight,
Right.
no epoxy, whatever. Like,
Ask not for whom the sword tolls.
yeah.
And I really love that with Gus. Like you could find one of his models that just speaks to you.
Perfect for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
Kane, I'm really looking forward to you doing a full review of that
I
bad
can't
boy
wait to see
and
what
your
you say
Oakeshott
about it.
typology video. That's gonna be really cool.
Yeah, that's gonna be so fun. I can't wait to see what you have to say about this when you
looking
get
forward
some
to
more
it.
experience with it.
The moment I pick it up, even though I love all of his swords, I immediately can tell that this is mine.
This is yours.
I made the right choice.
Mhm.
I love
And
that
then
feeling.
Gus's magic, like when you describe something to him, like he can almost like see what kind of swordsman you are,
Mhm.
but he's gonna fine tune them a little bit. So if
Yeah.
you hold two specimens of the same model, they look a little bit different.
Yeah.
Right.
But however, like the moment I pick this one up, like it's just like Gus said, it's not how good a sword is, right?
Mhm.
It's how well a swordsman can connect with his sword.
Right.
Yeah.
And this one connects with me personally. Perfect.
That's
Like,
awesome.
So what I hear you saying is you're not disappointed in your sword purchase.
Not in the slightest bit. And there's the right way to buy from Angus Trim, and there's the way to. You want a full experience, visit Angus Trim
Oh,
at
dude.
his secret bat cave,
Yeah.
his workshop, right? And you're gonna get bang of your buck.
Mhm.
And I gotta say, there's an experience that happens sometimes when he hands you a sword and you swing with it and you just love it, and then you can just see it on your face. He gets this little light in his eyes.
Yeah.
It's like this moment. It's like such a cool experience. He's like a little kid when he finds the right sword for the right person. It's
Mhm.
really, really a lot of fun.
Yeah, you can
So-
tell he loves that.
Yeah, he loves it so
he
much.
can talk about swords for like days. on
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. And
So
like
much.
all the way back to the theory, to the history, to where it was derived originally. He's a wealth of information. He's wonderful to spend time around.
By the way, he's an author. And
Oh yeah, we didn't know that.
in the novels he wrote, he
That's
incorporated
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
knowledge of sword handling and swordsmithing, and
Yeah.
definitely check them out.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
they are
check them out
they're
now that I
on
know, yeah.
Amazon already.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, guys, I think that's about all we got for this quick first impression and kind of a quick comparison for two Atrim 13Ds. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notification, and look forward to Kane's full review. It will be posted in the description below as soon as he gets that bad boy uploaded. Thanks again, Kane. It was a great time. Thank you to all of you. Peace.
Peace.